This is our news, the weekend edition, and on the broadcast tonight, the opposition's deputy leader warns government not to move forward on the Oban deal. Plus, what can we learn from the recent rage on Eleuthera? And a university rugby team making a special donation.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Knowles, topping the news. As the Prime Minister prepares to address the Oban deal fiasco in Parliament tomorrow, Progressive Liberal Party Deputy Leader Chester Cooper has urged government to extricate itself from the controversial deal with Oban Energies for an oil refinery project on Grand Bahama. Just 3 weeks after the signing of the heads of agreement that has since sparked much controversy, Cooper said the people have seen enough and it's enough to know the deal may not be in their best interest.
The government must find a way to extricate the Bahamian people from this deal. It's a bad deal.
The PLP deputy calling on government to spare the Bahamian people of the potential negative impacts that can come along with the Oban project in Grand Bahama. This concern grows by the day over the $5.5 billion oil refinery project, particularly because of some of the key players involved, the lack of an environmental risk assessment and lack of consultation.
You don't work things out with something so critical as the environment and the impact of our pristine shores as it relates to tourism and the very future of our Bahamas. You don't work it out with an investor after the fact.
What makes matters worse, says Cooper, is government's failure to consult with environmentalists throughout the country. The Bahamas National Trust, Brief, Save the Bays, and Re-Earth have all come out expressing concerns over the environmental impact the project could have on the natural resources of the country. The Bahamas National Trust even going as far as saying they can't imagine a scenario, regardless of the outcome of the environmental impact assessment, that the body can support the project.
The environmentalists are not supporting it. The Bahamas National Trust have come out definitively and said they're not going to support it. We're very concerned about the principles involved with respect to Oban Energies, whether we can trust them. The EIA hasn't been done after many, many years of being interested in doing this deal. The heads of agreement now call for Oban to be able to continue, notwithstanding what an EIA would say, and then they'll work it out with the government. This concerns me.
As a businessman, Cooper said in his opinion the government went about the deal all wrong. From the heads of agreement where Oban's non-executive chairman signed what appeared to be the name of the company's president, to even more questions concerning how the company would fund the project.
You put in place the regulation and the guidelines to ensure that as best as possible it goes smoothly. And then who are you working it out with? I mean, the characters are dubious and they're very questionable and concerning. Individuals, it seems that the government would put the Bahamian people at a disadvantage by proceeding with Oban.
Chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission, Raymond Winder, says the last thing the Bahamas needs is another major resort development. Instead, Winder says the government must go beyond the status quo when it comes to attracting investors to the country. Our Jasmine Brown reports.
We have, for the most part in the Caribbean, won the race of being able to attract foreign direct investment. But how far ahead has it gotten us? Not as far as we want to go. So something clearly else, different, has to be done. We don't need another Bahamas. We don't. Okay, we don't need another Atlantis. But we can sure use an Amazon or a Facebook.
And that's the way Winder says he sees it. Winder, a noted financial expert and managing partner of Deloitte & Touche Bahamas, says if any government wants to honestly improve the Bahamian economy, it must think outside the box.
In order for you to have economic diversification, you got to have a solid foundation to do business.
The Minutes administration has said it will aggressively pursue investments to boost ailing economies on islands across the country. Just this week, government officials signed a heads of agreement for a multi-million-dollar resort development on Harbor Island, Eleuthera. But government officials have insisted they are not just focused on resort developments. Last November, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said his administration was looking to turn Grand Bahama into a technology hub in a bid to accelerate the economic turnaround on that island. Winder says he thinks that is the way for the government to go. Still, he says before any real progress can be made, the process of doing business in the Bahamas needs to be addressed.
The Bahamas has one of the most slipperiest bases that you have for doing business. Everything that has to be approved in this country has to go to this small group of individuals called cabinet members. And who are these individuals? Well, these individuals change from government to government, and they change from individuals to individuals. Imagine you're a businessman outside of the Bahamas. You want to do business in the Bahamas. That's not a very secure basis to do business. Because what do you know about individuals? They change their mind. They change their policies.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, the recent rage on Eleuthera took many residents by surprise and showed the power of Mother Nature. But the event also left questions about why it occurred and what can be done to protect areas from nature's wrath in the future. Our Christina Dragovic has more.
Powerful waves and swells on the island of Eleuthera left many in awe. Bahamas Reef Environment and Educational Foundation Executive Director Casuarina McKinney-Lambert says it was an amazing event.
The recent rage on Eleuthera was really a fantastic example of how valuable our coral reefs are in protecting our islands.
Eleuthera has a barrier reef running almost the whole length of the island, serving as a natural breakwater. However, Lambert says the reef does not exist in the area of the Glass Window Bridge. She says the recent rage would have been a lot different on that island if it were not for the natural occurrence of coral reefs.
So you can imagine that if we didn't have the reef that protects the rest of Eleuthera, and we didn't have the reef that protects the north shore of New Providence, those big waves that rolled in and impacted the Glass Window Bridge would have been rolling in the whole length of Eleuthera and also along the north shore of New Providence.
Lambert says there's a growing awareness that Bahamians need to do their part to protect coral reefs.
Our coral reefs are providing an absolutely essential function as nature's breakwater. They are providing something that we could never create, that humans could never create, and they're doing it every day, basically free of charge.
So next time you see swells of this magnitude, Lambert says Bahamians should remember the importance of coral reefs.
Reef does a lot of work to help make people more aware of our environment and of how our environment benefits us and what we can do to protect it. So we have an upcoming field trip block where we are taking students from around New Providence out to learn about coral reefs, to learn about mangrove creeks and other ecosystems, and hopefully use this as these children grow up to help make good decisions about protecting our natural resources in the country.
Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovic.
All right, thanks, Christina. Well, we'll take our first break here, but still ahead tonight. Does the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce support the country's accession to the WTO? We'll tell you when our news returns.